Well, should we talk? Should we round table this thing?
Yeah, hurry up. I want to go to the beach.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready.
Now you've got to dive off camera.
Gurgle, bubbles. Let's do this. So we got some stuff that we're building. We've talked before about our variant manager, right? So that thing. We've talked about foster checkout last week, which at some point we'll show. But today we're going to talk about commerce reports. So these are kind of like these 3 plugins that we're going to make available for everyone else as well. And then we're going to get to our next 3 craft commerce build and show that one off. We'll have a special guest later in our roundtables discussion of somebody who is gonna build a site using this next 3 builds. So that'll be fun. But today on our agenda is basically just to figure out what we're gonna do with this commerce reports thing. The big nervous thing that we've had about, so we've had this commerce reports plugin. Let me give some background, right? So we've had this commerce reports plugin, I don't know, for years, primarily on one client site, but because of their product structure, we customized it pretty early. And so then it was like, oh, we have this thing, but now it's super specific business logic to them. So then it was a matter of extrapolating that out and building it into something else. What we've got now is a reporting plugin that works on Commerce 4, so Craft 4, Commerce 4. Why don't we just show it off? Should we show it off on staging?
Yep, I have it pulled up. So all I gotta do is share my screen.
So we have dummy data in here. And you can see the date ordered for all of these because we just entered them in. They're all from the same date. They're all today, right? So we don't have any previous data. And so that infinity kind of percentage basically means there's nothing in the previous date range to compare with,
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to walk us through like what it does now with the current data we have in there.
Yeah. So we have some built-in time periods. So last week, today, yesterday, last 30 days, by quarter, and then since January of this year. As Stephen mentioned, because this is all kind of mock data, it all has the date of today, so it won't really make a difference. You can do it by order statuses. You can do it by payment status. And then you can filter by different things like order numbers or the date ordered. So we have 2 older orders than today. So we could actually reduce the number of orders we have by 2. So now we're down to 300 orders. You can do a search. So I can search by like order number here, and it'll filter down to the order number. There's also like a page by item. So, and then the same thing. And so if I go through and I change like, oh, I want to look at what happened yesterday, right? We have nothing. And if I go back to orders, it'll keep that prefix date, which is kind of useful for when you're looking at all your reports. We'll go back to 7 days.
We also have custom date ranges as well, right?
Yes, that's right. You can also do a custom date range. So if your fiscal year is like, so I worked at a place where the fiscal year was like June or July through June, you could do something like go way back here and we could look at the orders for that fiscal year.
What might be something to look at down the road, I'm just kind of looking at it now, would be those sort of the preset options that we have, maybe within the plugin itself and under settings, the admins can create the sort of like preset variables of like, from now until today, and then they can give it a label or something like that. Or,
Yep.
that way, that might be something that we can start maybe think about.
I think Steven has talked about that a bit.
All right.
As like a thing that we want to do. I also think another thing that would probably be useful is letting people define their fiscal year, and then that would affect their quarters and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
like my fiscal, like for this weird fiscal year, right? Like you could just define that and then just grab your fiscal year, and that would also tell you when your quarters were and stuff. I was thinking about that
and
when we were
even
talking.
showing like in there, like when you pick this quarter, like what the dates will be. So like some little hint, like this
Yeah.
quarter, like kind of pre-select those dates before you start, show those dates before you select it. Anything like that kind of helps with that stuff, because sometimes you're like, wait, is this, because not everybody's always thinking about the same, like what these words mean to them and stuff. So yeah, we could, there's lots of things we could do with the dates, but I do think on our radar are those ideas, right? Is one, just kind of cleaning up some of the presets so that we're happy with the defaults. Two, Darrik, your idea of the fiscal year, I think is really solid. I like putting that in there in configuration. And then the other one is, Michael, as you're saying, is that we can save certain dates so that you can add new presets to that dropdown. And maybe even like, allowing people to, through config, to remove some presets or override presets through configs. So it's, but at least saving one. So as you set a custom range, you want to save it so you can come back to it or whatever. And that'd be good. But right now, what it does, thankfully, is also when we have a date range, as you go through the different views, so you go to orders, items sold, customers, the date range you picked kind of holds. So it is, you can kind of navigate through everything that way. And that's where you go. But yeah, that date range stuff, obviously we got to fix that in date year kind of being cut off. So that's on the workflow for us this week.
Yeah, make that use some more of this white space.
Yeah.
Another one that I would like is this should all be the button. I keep going to open it and I keep clicking today and it's not working. I have to go over here to the little chevron. I could test one more thing and find out how much work we have to do there. I could test the keyboard, but
yeah, exactly.
maybe I'll leave that up. Maybe I don't want to show too much there. We also have you can export these to CSV, which I've never tested before, but I'm going to assume it works. For customers, it will top shipping locations, the number of customers, the number of new customers, and then the number of customers who've made an additional, like a second order or more in the date range. So you can see we have 193 new customers, and of those, one of them has done an order. You can search through the customers. You can order by, things like how much the customers have spent, when their last purchase was.
They're heavy spenders.
Yeah.
What does AOV stand for?
Average order value. So for this person, or across all their orders, what's the value for them? So
we should probably spell that out.
yeah, because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think we could have like some glossary or tools somewhere in some place, or like a tooltip or something that kind of can help.
Yeah. Well, and on larger screens, we could probably just write that out, right? Like average order value or something.
Yep. But just looking at this too, I'm realizing like if I wanted to dive into the returning customers, for example, right, or the new customers, I'm like, who are these people? Like, be able to click that chart and have it update the data, below. I was like, and then know that you've clicked it. So it's not just the chart that you can't interact with and it's just there. It's like you can actually then interact with that almost as a filter toggle, and go from there. That'd be kind of cool.
Yep. I'm thinking about that from like an accessibility side of things, and it's doable. It'd be complicated, but it'd be doable. Because if you like put all of this in a button, it would not read out well to screen readers. Yeah.
Well, maybe there's an option to put those like inside of where it says all customers. It can be like new customers, returning customers under that drop down, where you can filter that way. And so there's
Yeah.
more than one way to get to it,
Yeah.
from there. But if you click on one of the customers, like you click on their email address, where does that take us?
It takes us over to the commerce orders, or like commerce users for the customer. So you can see what orders they've made, how much they paid, that kind of stuff.
Yep. So it goes over to just basic craft stuff at
Yeah.
that point in commerce things. Yeah. So this is what we have in here. I think one of the things that's interesting for me, and what very eager to get feedback on, from merchants and stuff, is one of the things that we want is, we don't want just a bunch of data in here. And we also don't want a bunch of irrelevant charts. We want things to actually be meaningful, where then we're taking these out. So like even that sentence at the top, if there's more sentences like that, where we can kind of summarize for people like what it is you're seeing, and what are some of the key pieces, even if we break down, like if you hover over average value, or I don't know, other places, or you can toggle open a meaning, a sentence meaning of what that stuff is, like those are things I'm a bit interested in as well, is translating that into like meaningful sentences, so that you can kind of don't have to figure that out yourself. So the fact that you can see is revenue, is changed or unchanged, obviously compared to the previous dates. You also have this, like we can fill those sentences in a little bit more, with other things. We could also have other charts that we can show in here. Like one thing, we don't even have like the total, like what is the revenue? We have total orders, we have average value and average order quantity, but we don't actually say like how much money you've sold. So that total paid amount isn't shown anywhere. So that's stuff that we could kind of, have some extra charts and data for. I think even showing ways where things get interesting on the orders pieces. Can you go to the item sold one? So I know it doesn't work right now. This is actually one of the things that we're fixing, is if in your an item sold, and then that column where total sold column, where it says 5 sold in 5 orders. So what that's doing is getting the calculation of like, okay, this purchasable has been sold, right, this many times, and you can now click on 5 orders. The idea, if you click on 5 orders, then is it takes you to an orders report specifically for that product. So then that's where you can filter out the orders that can include that that product. I don't think it works if you go to that query. It'll just like show everything. Or
No, it worked.
it did work. There we go. So these are all the orders that have that same product in it. So if you want to see like what are all those, like who's so that's a fun kind of thing that you can look at here as well. Thankfully the performance issues have been resolved. That was the one thing we had this past week. One of our devs moved it from loading about 20 seconds or more to up to 2 minutes for like a year on like a site that had much more data than this, that we're testing against, and then got it down to 1 to 2 seconds, 1 to 3 seconds, for heavier data. So phenomenal that was a kind of a performance improvement that we absolutely needed. So you're seeing the faster version at this point, which is great.
What do you think, like, what are you thinking that we haven't added that would be like a significant value add versus a like, hey, this is already valuable today? Like, I feel like when I was looking at, we demoed this internally a little bit earlier, and I was like, that looks really, really powerful from like a merchant perspective, even with what we already have.
Yeah. So how about this? Why don't we have some merchants we're going to talk to. We're going to show this off now that we're ready with the performance fixes that we've got accomplished last week. So that gets us there. We're obviously sharing. So anybody who's holding on and watching and looked at it, any feedback of like what they know, if you're a developer and you have feedback for us of, your merchant wants this, or you've created a custom report and and you don't want to have to maintain it anymore. Like what's in your reports, we'd love to know so that we could just build that in, if it makes sense, generally. So like that stuff. So I think we're at the point where we're really interested in some feedback from merchants, from developers who have worked with merchants closely on reports, and getting that stuff in that seems universal or more universal. I know that
Ye-
this week we're also working on currency, like just honoring. So it's not just US dollars, right? It's whatever your primary currency is in craft commerce that the reports will just show in that currency.
This sounds like it's almost time to release a beta.
Ooh, I think that's perfect. Is like we figure out maybe we're ready for beta. It sounds like we're ready for beta and we get it out there. Let's think product, right? So that's clearly
Yeah. In the
what we
product
do.
world, like this, when I've done betas, when we've done betas in the past, this is exactly that moment of we have a bunch of features, you know, it's usable today, but we want to like, we only have our own internal use cases. Like, so we want to see how other people use it. A beta is when you do that. Counting this upcoming sprint, it'd probably be two sprints till we could maybe earliest get the beta out. So that for everyone watching, that's about 2.5 weeks.
So beta out before the end of August.
Yeah.
Shoot for that. Should be possible. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna have the beta. We're gonna figure that out next time. I think we're committed. We're gonna do our Foster checkout. We're gonna do that again. We've got some improvements that we're hoping to make over this current sprint, and we're just gonna demo it. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions for us whatsoever about anything, commerce reports, any of our other plugins, feel free, leave a comment on our YouTube channel. We'd love to know what you're kind of interested in. We'd love to know, especially if feedback, if you listen to us and like you have thoughts on reporting, let us know, speak up. If you haven't signed up to receive our weekly newsletter, please do so. When you sign up to our newsletter, you'll be the first to know when we've dropped another one of these YouTube videos. Also, your name will be entered into a drawing at the end of our summer sprints, where we'll be giving away one of our brand new Foster Commerce t-shirts. As soon as we have that design kind of approved and finalized, we'll share that with you. So we'll see you next time.
You know, we should do these like Christopher Walken.
Oh, see, that sounds like Kirk from the original Star Trek.
From Star Trek. Star Trek. Yeah. I can do one very well.
Which one?
Sean Connery. Sean Connery, you do it very well. The best things for a to come up with to imitate somebody's voice is to think of a word that they say very particularly. So with Sean Connery, it's saber. Saber.
What word is that?
Saber.
Ah, saber. Got it.
It's a saber. And he rolls the R, so that's what you can get to.